Greetings to everyone from Iora Ecological Solutions. Iora is a leading environmental advisory firm in India with expertise in natural resource conservation, climate change mitigation, and adaptation. I am Dr. Priyamvada Bagadia, Senior Manager under the Research and Consultancy Wing, specializing in landscape ecology and ecosystem services. We have a distinguished panel here, and before I proceed with the panel introduction, I would take a quick moment to introduce the project funded by Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. The project is titled Integrated Assessment of Land-Based Interventions for Strategic Mitigation and Economic Sustainability. The aim of this assessment is to draw an evidence-backed strategic roadmap for implementation of LBM interventions. While working on this project, we have come across some crucial questions on land-based mitigation, their contextual appropriateness, their connectedness with ecosystems and human well-being, and any hindrances in terms of policy, finance, capacity, and technology. It is for this to discuss around these topics that we have brought together an eminent lineup of officers and professionals from forestry. We have previously talked about stakeholders and community, and Dr. Verma will be speaking in depth about the previous LBMs. Now, on behalf of Iora Ecological Solutions, I would like to welcome the panel here. We have with us Dr. Madhu Verma, Senior Economic Advisor and Chief Environmental Economist. Ma'am leads the research and consultancy wing at Iora. Ma'am is an internationally recognized environmental economist and policy expert with over 40 years of experience in ecosystem services valuation, green finance, natural resource accounting, and biodiversity conservation. Ma'am is credited with NTCA-funded valuation of tiger habitats and for pioneering the recommendations for environmental fiscal transfers through the 13th, 14th, 15th Finance Commissions. In the panel, we are pleased to welcome Shri Subhash Chandra IFS, former CEO of National CAMPA, where he oversaw afforestation and forest restoration efforts in compensation of forest land diversion. He has extensive experience in forest policy, forest rights, landscape restoration, sustainable forest management, urban forestry, mining, and climate change. Sir has previously held additional charges as Director General of Forests and Special Secretary at MFCC and also as Director of IFM Bhopal. We welcome you, sir. We have with us Shri Shailesh Tembhurnikar, IFS, former HoFF Maharashtra and CEO of State CAMPA. Sir belongs to, in 2006, Sir was awarded the gold medal for forest protection by the government of Maharashtra, and he was also commended by the government of India for his work in water conservation, particularly for the IWMP Arvi in Wardha district. Sir is currently also a distinguished fellow with TERI. We welcome you, sir. I will skip, maybe I'll introduce Vivek sir when he joins us. I'll keep that his introduction for his joining. We have with us. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I missed you, sir. Welcome, sir. So we have with us Shri Vivek Saxena, currently IFS and currently the PCCF of Haryana and CEO of State CAMPA in Haryana. Sir has 21 years of experience and Sir has steered large-scale EU and JBIC funded projects and championed community forestry, watershed and wetland restoration, biodiversity protection and ecotourism in Haryana. Sir is a hallmark, has acted as a hallmark in weaving sustainability and strategic planning into every facet of forest and environmental management. We welcome you, sir. We have with us Ms. Archana Chatterjee, Program Manager at IUCN India. Ms. Chatterjee has worked on initiatives such as Himalaya for Future, Mangroves for the Future, Ecosystems for Life, Sustainable Agriculture, Water Governance, among others. Ms. Chatterjee has more than 25 years of experience with non-governmental and UN organizations. We welcome you, Ms. Chatterjee. Lastly, we will like to welcome our moderator for today's session, Shri Rajkumar Srivastava, whom we fondly call as RK Sir. And he's the former PCCF Karnataka and presently head NBS and strategy at Iora. As PCCF Karnataka, RK Sir has overseen the Green India Mission and National Bamboo Mission. Sir has led the digital transformation initiatives at Karnataka State Electronics Development Corporation, showcasing his business acumen in managing large enterprises. In the forestry sector, Sir has been instrumental. Sir has been instrumental in developing and deploying IT solutions, including setting up an ICT center. With that, I welcome the panel here, and I request Dr. Verma to kindly provide a context to the audience on LBM and the past LBM dialogues that we've had. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Premda, for a very, very pertinent introduction, because it gives us sort of the audience an idea about how diversified panel we have here. It's such enriching experience, experts sitting with us, throwing light on, the very important sector of the economy, the forestry sector. And it's like homecoming for me, because we all happen to have worked together in some way or the other, having worked in IFM for a very, very long time, 25 glorious years. And now in Iora, we continue to work together and learn from each other's experiences. Well, welcome once again to this land-based mitigation dialogue series, the 5th dialogue series and dialogue in the series now. Well, of course, I don't have to convey about the importance of land-based mitigation to all of you, but just to set the context for the benefit of the larger audience, we all know that land-based mitigation is a very, very important intervention to be made to fix lots of problems of emissions which come out, anthropogenic greenhouse gases which come out of the interventions being made at land-based systems. Almost 23% of such GHGs in terms of carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, they come out of land-based systems. Just as they are source of these emissions, they are also providing natural sink. If you are able to manage these land systems well, they are able to sink 29% of all the anthropogenic emissions across the globe. But lots of, sort of distractions which happen in these systems, like deforestation, habitat destruction, land degradation, they threaten the survival of many species. At the same time, soil erosion, desertification, loss of soil fertility can have a severe consequences on all kinds of ecosystems like agriculture, the impact on food security and livelihoods. In that particular context, have to scale up land-based, mitigation measures. They are crucial for enhancing mitigation sinks. And being an economist, I must dabble with lots of numbers that we have to achieve through land-based, mitigation measures. Well, we account for 17% of anthropogenic emissions in India. But at the same time, India is committed to add natural sinks for 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide via natural climate solutions by 2030. We have one challenge targets for the restoration of 26 million hectares of degraded land by 2030. The National Forest Policy 1988 envisages having 33% of forest and tree cover in the country as soon as possible, I would say. And then we also pledged for net zero by 2070. So looking at all these kinds of challenges that we are facing, we have been working in this domain for a very, very long time. We proposed a study on integrated assessment of land-based interventions for strategic mitigation and economic sustainability. And we've been conducting this work for past 1.5 years almost. And the idea is to look at the across the country kind of interventions being made in various sectors and how they're able to fix the problem and we are able to achieve the targets we have committed to in the international arena. So we had, deep dived, almost 75 such LBM case studies and looked at their challenges, the opportunities that they tapped on account of those challenges, in fact, and their, constraints that they had faced and how they came out with a successful kind of outcomes. So, so this gave us a kind of a broad idea about that. It's also important to understand we cannot reach out to everybody to really understand these issues through dialogue series. And we will definitely be coming out with the outcomes of our deep dive work. In our research work, we are also conducting case studies across various regions, the primary data collection and analysis and giving suggestions and findings shared with larger set of stakeholders. We thought it's a great idea to also conduct a dialogue series and to look at interventions happening across grasslands, afforestation activities, agroforestry, agriculture, wetlands, and urban context also, which we usually tend to forget. This also plays such an important role in land-based mitigation measures. So they have such connection in terms of, if ecosystems are thriving, we have well-being of individuals, and we also look at kind of interventions through what could be done to correct the mechanism to make the whole system more thriving through finance, policy, technology, and capacity building kind of initiatives. Well, we have conducted, I'll just not take much time because now I'll hand it over too quickly to Arke Saab, quite quickly giving a brief account of the dialogues we have had in the past. We started the first dialogue in July 2024. on role of land-based mitigation in climate action in India. And we gathered experts from government, policymakers, implementation experts, finance experts, and we looked at how mitigation strategies should incorporate to achieve scale aspect. And we had people who had great experience in Niti Aayog, in Ministry of Agriculture, ICRAF, World Bank, and MVDA. The second stakeholder consultation, the dialogue was multiple stakeholder partnership for lands-based mitigation in India. Of course, we require multiple hats, multiple visions, multiple lenses, multiple stakeholders, because it is not the duty or the work of just one, because everybody gets affected. So everybody has to give a kind of a response to it. So we had people from Rain Matter, we had people from SEDA, we had people from InfraVision, and Samarthan. They are the ones who brought a lot of experience and gave us insights on how we can solve these issues. And they're very proactive kind of stakeholder groups to achieve our targets. The third one confined to, I think, the most neglected ecosystem, that is the grasslands. They're there because they have to play a role, but we don't recognize them enough. So we had this third dialogue of grasslands and climate spotlight, shifting the narrative from degradation to restoration. They are actually used as as kind of a land because they're degraded. So they are supposed to be the degraded lands. I don't have any, because they don't have much visible sort of benefits coming out of it, but invisible benefits are immense in nature. So we had people from white background who had joined us from Wildlife Institute of India, we had people from BNHS, we have from Upstream Ecology, from CCF Madhya Pradesh had joined, and CEO Aranyak had joined us in this discussion. And lots of insights we could get, and then we came out with huge amount of suggestions and how grasslands can play a very important role, because the landscape is a mosaic of ecosystems. Not just one ecosystem is important, all are equally important. That's why nature has built them there. The last one actually talked about community engagement and co-benefits from land-based mitigation. We had the communities play such an important role in conservation, restoration activities, and they are centered to the land-based mitigation strategies definitely. And through their intervention, we can maximize ecological, socio-economic, and other cultural goals. So we had people from Switch On Foundation. We have people from Vertiver, from BAF Foundation, and from Shakti Foundation discuss about all these issues. So taking the baton forward, now we come to the forest. I have been in this sector for such a long time. I would say earn my bread and butter and see such an important role played by forest in land-based mitigation kind of activities. Or they make huge amount of support systems are provided by forests themselves, because they are the most vital ones definitely, and they align so much with the climate action. That's why we have so much is to be looked at forestry sector for achieving our targets, international targets. Whether it is Bond Challenge or it is having Paris Agreement to be achieved, our carbon sequestration goals to be achieved. So with this kind of a quick background, because then I'll hand it over to RK Saab, who will introduce the subject more to all of you, and then we'll take the discussion forward. Thank you very much and welcome once again to this. We're looking forward to a very insightful and very thought-provoking discussion with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you, sirs, for joining this panel. We'll follow a sequence. We'll start with Subhash sir, then Shailesh sir, and then Vivek, and then Archana. I'll be posing questions which will be general in nature, and you can add your own ideas in that answer. So to start with, forest and forestry definitely in Indian context lies at the mainstream of any mitigation activity for land-based what we have to take, or what we have to build in Indian context. About 25% of area is forest and remaining 25% is potential area of agroforestry. So in a country where 50% of area has to deal something with forest, and remaining has to depend upon forest for various resilience methods. In that country, any land-based mitigation cannot be thought of or done without thinking of forest or forestry interventions. So start with Subhash sir. You have worked almost in every state in India. Almost you have experience at the national level, and in the later part of your service, You manage the India's biggest restoration fund. So having seen the entire country and having seen the entire restoration work in the country from the top, I would request you to please elaborate. What is the biggest successes you have seen, one or two, and why this has been successful, and failures, if any, whether it is systemic or something else. Thank you, sir. Sure. Sir, your mic is on, not on.
Sorry for the inconvenience. And thank you, RK, once again, and distinguished panelists we have on this webinar. In fact, you have spoken about my experience at various level in fact, right from municipality, district, state to nation, and even international exposure, which I got through USAID, and as my inning in the ministry as DIG Forest Policy, where I was national focal point for UNFF and other international fora. In fact, forestry and land-based activities are so vast that we are always learning. We don't feel as expert because it is evolving, and there is so much to learn from whatever action is happening across the country. But I am very optimistic that a lot of good work is being done in the forestry and associated sectors. In fact, if we see, we are 1.4 billion plus people and one of the, but probably the largest population in the world. Still, we have been able to protect our forest biodiversity in a satisfactory way, which I can say for sure, because we have been very conservative in our approach of forest diversion and restoring wherever possible the degraded forest. At the same time, the success stories I have found, Shailesh sir is here, and we have seen the very good work in Maharashtra, very good work in Rajasthan. In fact, they have done wonderfully well. Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. In fact, all these states I have been, there is something new to see, which is done by our ground level staff with the help of local communities. And what I feel, we have not been able to celebrate this success and take it to the wide stakeholders, which they can also use the best practices in their area. So one is the technology, one is the decentralization of activities. Because over the years, there is so much centralization of fund dispersal, fund flowing to the ground level where the people are working, that it most of the time it doesn't reach to the ground where people are implementing well in time. And forestry and other all agriculture, horticulture and agroforestry, these are all time based, season based. If we miss the bus, miss one rainy season, we will be losing a lot of initiative. So the success, especially when we want to restore or rehabilitate the degraded forest, which we have been able to do through CAMPA, approximately 10.5 lakh hectare land has been restored through compensatory afforestation. They have been taken up and are in the various stages of growth and development. At the same time, this through NPV, we have been able to address approximately 1 million hectare of degraded forest, which we have been able to restore through water soil conservation, improving soil productivity, at the same time encouraging natural regeneration, which is key to ecological health of the area. So I feel there is a lot of learning, and we can extend these to with the capacity building, with the reaching out to the people who are working at the ground level with the local communities. I think this addresses your question. RK, your mic is mute.
We are of very old generation, sir. It's very difficult for us to change mics so fast. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And now my request to Shailesh sir is, sir, we have seen you working in Maharashtra as our role models. And during your years as head of the India's biggest this Central India landscape, biggest state in Central India landscape, you have done exemplary work, uh, especially in watershed and water conservation, etc., which is also one of the means of increasing forest and forestry, one of the interventions for increasing forestry in the state. So, sir, in your ideas, sir, please tell us your successes in Maharashtra. How could you achieve it, and what other states should do to follow some good examples of Maharashtra? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear all. It was a great pleasure. It is a great pleasure to interact with all of you. At the outset, I would like to express my gratitude to Iora for arranging a panel discussion on a very important and relevant topic. So, friends, first, I would like to draw your attention regarding the carbon sequestration potential of the forest areas. If you see the composition of the greenhouse gases, almost more than 64%. So you can say almost 70% of the greenhouse gas is nothing but carbon dioxide. And if we could succeed in reducing the concentration of carbon dioxide from the air, then the ill effects or the adverse impacts of the climate change can be reduced automatically. So if you see the role which the forest plays, the carbon is sequestered by oceans also, by water bodies, as well as by forest. Now there are three different techniques of sequestering the carbon. First is that the carbon dioxide can be liquefied and stored below the earth's crust, but it is a very costly option and it is impractical. Secondly, oceans also absorb carbon dioxide. They absorb carbon dioxide to the tune of say 92 units. The units you can see in pentagrams, and they emit out 90 units by way of various respiratory processes or various chemical processes that are happening in the nature. So the net sequestration in water bodies or in oceans is only 2 units. But in case of greenery, in case of trees, in case of forest, the carbon dioxide sequestered is around 120 units. And this forest or the tree cover emits 60 units of carbon dioxide by way of respiration. So the net sequestration is 60 units. So that is how the whole attention of the world has been garnered by the forest. Because for sequestering the carbon, the cheapest, the best, and the best economical solution, which is eco-friendly also, is nothing but green cover or the forest. So from that point of view, if you see, the forest management and the forestry sector is very important if you want to reduce the adverse impacts of the climate change. That is the first point I want to make. And secondly, regarding the success and failures, I would like to quote two different examples. One is regarding the habitat management of the tigers. If you see, there were just 106 tigers in 2006 in the state of Maharashtra, right? So after that, we had undertaken intensive management of especially the sanctuaries, national park, increasing the buffer area around the sanctuaries and the national park. Especially, we have relocated almost 60 villages from the core areas of various sanctuaries and national parks. Now, if you see every village which was located inside the sanctuaries or national park, it comprised of few elements. Like there were farms around the habitation, there was a water body, and there were fruit trees, like say imli tree, bear tree, so and then sitafal, so on and so forth, which are already planted around the villages. Now, what happened when the villages were relocated? We had undertaken grassland plantations in the field areas. under the aegis of CAMPA and other funds also. So the very good lush grassland developed all around that area. Already fruit trees were there and the water body was also there. So that attracted the dense this herbivora in that particular area, and the carnivores also followed. So the restoration of habitat is such an excellent job we did in the Maharashtra. Actually, it can be emulated in other state also, and that the number of tigers have increased from 106 to 342 now. As per 2024 census, the tigers have increased, number of tigers have increased phenomenally. So that is the habitat restoration of tigers. It is a grand success story, and that is one thing. Then secondly, so far as the implementation of the integrated watershed development program is concerned, under the aegis of social forestry, almost all throughout the state this program was implemented, and the and actually the results were quantified. The baseline data was gathered, and what are the changes that are affected after the implementation of that project was also measured. So it was found that the groundwater level has significantly increased, the green cover also increased, and basically the participation of the people, because the whole project was implemented through watershed development committees at the village level. So there was a very good participation in the execution of the project. And thereafter, in the 90s, lot of joint forest management committees were established, and there are around 12,000 joint forest management committees in the state of Maharashtra, and almost 50% of that very active. And there are around 15,500 villages which are located inside the forest and around the forest. So the community participation, if you see, through joint forest management mechanism was excellent. That is the another success story which I would like to flag to. And the limitation, failure, the because of these successes, now the man-animal conflict is at the highest level. So that is the fallout. That is one thing. Then secondly, to some extent, whatever this greening activity was undertaken, since the soils of the Maharashtra states are very refractory and most of the land is degraded, the nutrient status is very low. So because of that reason, the success of plantations is poor to some extent. So these are the failures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, Dr. Vivek Saxena ji, you hail from a state which has championed the cause of market-linked agroforestry. So,
Good
can
afternoon.
can you enlighten the audience by telling us more about how could Haryana succeed with such a model where you have market, where you have farmers growing trees, and everything is happening on its own?
Yeah, thank you, RK. And at the outset, let me thank Iora for organizing this discussion today. I think it's a dialogue series, which you initiated sometimes in 2024. And also, I am seeing my senior veterans, Subhash sir, Shailesh sir, and Madam Madhu also. So all the known faces, at least, again, at least you are able to interact online on the screen, which had become and Dr. Archana also, which had become a normal feature during the COVID times. So, as you told that sometimes if there is a crisis or there is a shortage, so that also leads to some types of innovation. So Haryana can be considered as one of such case study. As you know that Haryana has a very limited notified forest area, around 3.5% of the geographical area. And geographical area is also very limited. We have around 44,000 square kilometer of the total state geographical area. And the tree and forest cover, which is also assessed by the Forest Survey of India in its report, that reflects that our tree and forest cover is to the extent of around 7.5%. More, you can say more than the whatever the area part of the geographical area which is under forest. So at least what triggered the agroforestry and its market and linkages within the state of Haryana. Actually, if you see that in 1996, once the Godawardhan judgment came, then all the wood-based industries located in the northeast, they were banned. So that some of the traders and the farmers, they found that which can be the convenient place so that they can have some sustainability of their businesses. So in that northern region, Haryana was one of the states where we had virtually limited or no tree felling regulations. So that was one of the advantage, because neighboring states UP and Uttarakhand, they had the lot of timber felling regulations, and at the same time the adjoining Punjab, it was still recovering from the decade of which was there with the terrorism on that. So that was one of the things. The judgment came, and at the same time the conducive atmosphere, enabling environment. So that attracted the people to set up some of the wood-based industries. At the same time, the support of the good short rotation clones of eucalyptus by the ITC, and also poplar clones by the WIMCO, and they promoted them, and the farmers relatively vis-a-vis from the other states, they were relatively far better off, and they could afford that they can go for the agroforestry on a large scale. And they undertook those plantations of eucalyptus and poplar, and these clones were facilitated through the forest department, also through the FRI also, and with some of the entrepreneur farmers also approached once there was a lot of awareness and all to the ITC and WIMCO. WIMCO also promoted in the TERI region, also in the nearby Haldwani and all. And at the same time, the lot of wood-based industries also they came up, the plywood, particle board, and all those industries. And the linkages of between the production capacity and the consumption. So whatever was being produced and it was consumed in the local wood-based industries, and giving a better remuneration to the farmers, that further triggered to the other farmers and stakeholders to adopt agroforestry on a larger scale. So not only in Haryana, but in the neighboring states of, say, Uttarakhand, areas of UP bordering Haryana, like Saharanpur and nearby areas, and also in the Punjab. They are also raised lot of eucalyptus and poplar-based plantations in their farm, with along with the various crops, in combination with the crops like tamarind, sugarcane, paddy, and others. So they were able to get the returns from the agriculture crop also, and as well at the same time, depending upon the need, they could also get the returns from through the harvesting of the eucalyptus and poplar. And at the same time, the traders also they set up these units so they could absorb the raw material and then further market it. And over the period of time, more than 350 such plywood units and other units, they came into existence there. And this region became the, you can say, the plywood capital, not only of the India, but the largest Asia wood-based Asia wood market, sourced from the wood from the non-forest areas. And it also helped that because earlier, see, from the neighboring Himachal and Jammu and Kashmir, where the packaging industry for the packaging of the apples and fruits that you used to have with the some wood, so some of part of it that also saved to a large extent solutions to various type of such thing, as well as to the building industry also, by providing the shuttering, these poles and all, to the construction industry also. So in a way, the agroforestry of Haryana having very limited forests, virtually negligible forests compared to the agriculture area, having more than 80-85% area under agriculture. And at the same time, by having the intensive and extensive agroforestry, so Haryana was also one of the contributor for saving of the natural forest of the adjoining areas of Uttarakhand, Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir. So I hope I am able to answer your queries, and regarding that, how it is really very surprising when one talks of the any forest in Haryana and what Haryana can contribute. But the Haryana's contribution has been not only to promote the non-forest based, you can the farm-based wood market also, and also contribution to the value chain and supply chain, and at the same time contribution for the ecological security by also conserving and protecting the good natural rich forest, so that if you are protecting the forest, so we have also contributed to the conservation of the biodiversity, also addressed to the concerns related to the climate change and also land degradation. Yeah. So
thank you, Vivek. You have clearly explained how India's forestry goals can be achieved. If we have to go from 25% to 33%, it has to grow outside the forest area. And for something to grow outside the forest area, market linkage is very, very important. So this example, other states can learn from, and we can incorporate in our policy narrative so that this can be replicated in other parts of the country also. Thank you, Vivek ji.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Archana, you are the most unique person in this room. You have experiences from Himalayas to mangroves in South. So in your view, what could be the best initiatives you have seen, and any significant failures, if at all?
Thank you so much. At the outset, I would also like to thank Iora for inviting IUCN to be part of this illustrious panel. I have interacted with, I think, all of you sirs, and also Madhu ma'am. So it's a really big honor for me to be part of this panel. So considering that, yeah, I have worked from the Himalayan region to the mangrove for the future program also. The successes lie, I mean, the forest department is doing the conservation and protection and other things within the forest areas. But I think it's the communities which outside the forest areas, wherever protection, conservation or restoration is required, community participation is very, very important. And so in my experience, what I've seen in the Northeast, where most of the forests are with the communities, until they are convinced that the forests will yield to them long-term benefits, and they are important for their survival, these forests will not be protected. So their participation is absolutely very much important. And the same holds true in the coastal regions also, sir. So in the coastal areas, I think the turning point was the tsunami, which really catapulted the role of mangroves in the coastal, conservation and also protecting the communities from disasters. So I think in my interaction in Bhitarkanika and Sundarbans with the communities, they understand the role of mangroves very well, and they're very much, participating in the conservation also. But of course, the pressures remain on the forest. And I think if we link it to the livelihood benefits, and especially in the current times, to the carbon benefits, then I think the communities also get some kind of leeway to enhance their interest in conservation and protection of forests and trees outside forests. So different mechanisms exist already, like the JFMCs are already there, biodiversity management committees are also there, and now increasingly the gram panchayats are also being motivated to include all these things in their, the Gram Panchayat development plans or the district level development plans or the block level development plans. So the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, we have been interacting with them, and for them also, they are doing the localization of SDGs into the Gram Panchayat level, where all these initiatives are really taking shape. And I think we have to capitalize on the goals that ma'am already, Dr. Madhu already mentioned about the NDC targets and other international commitments that India has. And I would also like to add the CBD targets, the National Biodiversity Targets, Target 2 and 3 on restoration, and also 30 by 30 target, where all these efforts will sort of bear fruit, and they will add value to the nation's commitments as well as bring benefits to the ground. So in that context, I think the study, some of the calculations done by IUCN globally, that the forestry and agriculture sector, the agroforestry sector, FOLU sector as we call it, can take care of at least 33 to 35% of the mitigation, the carbon emission mitigation. And therefore, it becomes very, very important for us, for countries like India, which have a huge area under forest and agriculture, to really think about strengthening our efforts in this direction and benefiting communities as well as the commitments that they have made at the international level. So, I mean, from IUCN perspective, we are not into the actual carbon space, but we are supporting through our initiatives such as the forest landscape restoration initiatives under various projects. That one project that we had done with the Ministry on Bond Challenge, commitments of Government of India, and how the forest landscape restoration can contribute in a big way to that. And forest landscape restoration, sir, as Dr. Madhu also mentioned, and other speakers, that not only the trees, but the grasslands, the wetlands, even the agricultural lands, they will all contribute to our these carbon mitigation targets. And therefore, the landscape approach, I think, is where IUCN is really putting its weight behind, and we are sort of propagating this approach, and a lot of other agencies are doing it too. And therefore, we feel that the landscape approach is the way to go, instead of just focusing on very, siloed approaches. So I think I'll stop here, sir, and then.
So in next round, sir, in the first round of discussion, what we could gather was that forests are not just forests. So forest has to be taken in totality, and it has to be dealt in today's context along with our carbon goals, our biodiversity goals, and they are also linked with livelihood. Our forestry policy and governance framework and the strategy to implement our policy, they have been very, very old. Since last 40, 45 years, we have been using the same strategy and same governance framework. So my question to the panelists in the second round would be, how do you see our present policy and governance strategy to achieve the outcomes of our requirement of carbon goals, biodiversity goals, and linkages to livelihood in the forestry sector? So we'll start from Dr. Subhash Chandra.
Once again, RK sir, it has been very interesting discussion in the first round. The policy framework which we see, in fact, I was one of the proponents for very liberalized timber felling regulation, tree felling regulations, and we started with Council Committee report examining what is happening in all the states about tree felling and its transportation until it is consumed in the industries. In fact, we have to be very proactive. And in this regard, the help of civil society groups, the courts has to be very, very supportive. What is happening, suppose a tree felling regulation is suppose simplified somewhere. Suddenly somebody approaches the court, and again court comes up with so many stringent conditions. So ultimately people are, at times they feel that tree plantation is to invite troubles. Even if they plant and some later date they want to cut it, somebody in the neighborhood or they may go to the court and stop them from taking advantage. This has not happened in Haryana, Punjab and Western UP because the environment was right, as Dr. Vivek Saxena has mentioned, and the tree-based economy could take into full steam. But at the same time, we have tremendous potential in the Northeast, in the areas which receive a good rainfall, where a lot of short rotation tree crop can be taken up by the farmers along with their agriculture and horticulture crop. Ultimately, you wanted that this land-based mitigation, which we cannot see in isolation as forestry. It has to be a mix of trees, which are trees and other plants, which are meeting the requirement of the people for their daily needs as well as for their commercial interests. So we have to make the laws simplified regarding tree planting and tree felling. In this regard, I think private initiative are required, especially from the corporate sector and industries who get the financing from the banking institutions and non-banking financial institutions, so that the tree plantation should not be taken as an activity for climate change, mitigation of climate change or growing of trees only. It has to be ingrained and integrated into our economics, nation's economics. If the tree plantation is successful economically, we need no such type of discussion as we are having today. When the people will come forward to plant whatever they can on their land, which is available for them 3 or 4, 5 years, and they can achieve the best of the income from those. In this regard, we have to make like industrial estate, we can have village clusters, and like Amul cooperative model, we can have industries which can primarily process it at the village group of village level and make the process semi-processed wood for higher products in slightly far located industries which are giving much more value to the addition in that. So we have to come out with commercial model which is supported by the government policies. It should not be only for the purpose of climate change mitigation, but it should be a transformation of local land use, because we are at the same time due to impact of climate change, high mean temperatures, which are heat wave condition we are witnessing, lack of water resources, water shortages in villages and even cities. So the trees based economy, they offer a good solution, and where we have to bring the technology, the science, the managers, the finance, and in India the demand of trees can be such that we can fix a great amount of carbon in our daily uses. We can make floors, we can make wood paneling, we can make good furniture, we can make so many uses in the construction. So it will be fixing carbon at an increasingly accelerated rate. So tree-based economy is one area where we should work with the horticulturists, we should work with the land managers, work with the industry, very good industry, we use technology like IKEA and others, and even medium or poor quality wood can be transformed to a better, much better one quality products, and which will certainly help not only economically but ecologically, as well as help in mitigating the impacts of climate change, this carbon sequestration. And I think the time for commercial tree plantation has come, and we should facilitate it. Not only fearing that our forest will be impacted, when there is abundance, we should not fear much about loss of the trees in our forest, because when people find it not easy to get tree cut in the forest and remove it. So this transformation has to come. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Shailesh, sir, your recommendations or any policy governance change?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Actually, the point of landscape restoration has already been flagged to. What I feel is that in our country, the forest departments allocates funds to the forest for forestry activity, for forestry intervention in the forest area only. They don't look beyond the forest areas. Agriculture department, they look after agriculture areas. Then the Westland Development Department looks after Westland Development only. So all these departments are working in isolation, in silos, and there is no integration of the intervention of all these departments. So that is why we cannot see the clear-cut results. I would like to give an example of Radegan Shindi village, which was developed by Honorable Sri Anna Hazareji, wherein you will find that all these components were integrated together. That is why we could get such an excellent result. We call it as Adarsh Gaon, wherein the green cover was increased, agriculture production was increased, as well as the livestock density was reduced and the production was increased. There was a very good community participation. Westland was also developed, and it all happened in integrated way.
So finally, as other panelists have recommended, landscape approach. And for landscape approach, only forest department working is also not a good recipe. In a landscape approach, when there are units of other landscapes also there as an integrated part of that landscape, all those departments who have to take action in these particular units should work in a particular team. So Vivek ji, what is your recipe for this kind of policy?
Yeah, this is a very challenging
Tricky question.
scenario.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we all agree that when you tackle any problem, or from the management point of view, the landscape-based approach in which there are various factors, various actors, various players, they have to play a very vital role. And at the ground level, it is always challenging that the common perception is that if the tree plantation is involved, then it is the job of forest department only. So that even outside the forest areas, if you have to plan on a landscape-based approach, then you have to see that at the same time that there are many other players, like what agriculture department is there, your irrigation department is there, then the development partners, some industries also come up. So that overall objective to meet the balance or sustainable development, or the balance between conservation and development. So theoretically, when we talk at various forums, we always say that landscape-based approach we have to do. Similarly, what we say that the watershed basis we have to work. While implementation, certainly the coordination between various stakeholders, maybe the government departments or the other private entities, that is also very, very important. And a dialogue and convincing all the relevant players and stakeholders, including the corporates and the various industries, because it is all integrated thing. Suppose you have a forest area nearby, there is some industry. Industry releases the effluents. It does not adhere to the treatment, you can say water treatment or sewage treatment, proper plants or non-functioning of that. So that nullifies also even your efforts of the thing. Now, how to ensure that on ground, that is the real challenge. So again, the proper communication, the coordination, the convincing, what extent we are able to convince them, cooperation among all the relevant stakeholders and bringing them to a common platform with a common mindset, with their self-responsible behavior towards their own interest as well as towards the common interest. That is very, very important. So again, when it reminds to us to the parlance of our common future, so our common future is also embedded in the proper landscape-based management. Then we have to, then only we can achieve our goal of the effective natural resource management, conservation, and all other aspects.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek. This just reminds me of two program implementation in the country. One was Harit Haram in Telangana, another is Green Tamil Nadu Mission in Tamil Nadu. There, the initiative was not just owned by every department. Honorable Chief Minister sat and reviewed every department on implementation. So even though Harit Haram is a forestry program, it was implemented by every organ in the department, in the government. So thank you. Sir, we lost Tembhurnikar sir, and now he is back. Sir, please complete your idea.
I was talking about that we should have a clear-cut policy regarding this landscape restoration. Because I have given an example of Radegan Shindi as well as Hivre Bazar, wherein there was an integrated effort of all the departments, that is agriculture, forestry, rural development, and community participation, so on and so forth. So if you observe that the United Nations has also declared the decade of landscape restoration from the year 2021 up to 30. So we should have a clear-cut approach of landscape development instead of having only undertaking plantations on piecemeal basis inside the forest area, because the whole land mosaic is interconnected, and the success and failure in one landscape is felt by other landscapes. It is a sort of a mosaic. So we should have a clear-cut policy at the Government of India level to integrate the efforts of various departments, and we should adopt the policy of landscape restoration. Another example I would like to give, that there are many forest villages surrounded by the forest area deep inside the forest, and wild animals come into their agriculture area and they damage the agricultural crops. So they demand compensation, and there is a life threat to them also from carnivorous animal. In such a situation, their economic income also goes down. So what I feel is that they should undertake grassland plantations instead of agriculture production, and they should participate in the conservation efforts. They can start the agro-ecotourism as well as the wildlife tourism in that area, so that landscape can be integrated into the forest ecosystem. Then the third thing is that we should have a clear-cut wherever there are soils are refractory. The first thing is that we should undertake grassland plantations. If you keep grassland plantations for 2-3 years, then the fertility of the soil will improve. After 3 years, then you can undertake tree plantations over that particular area. So we should have a clear-cut grassland policy in the country, wherein we can undertake grassland in forest areas as well as non-forest areas also. And the policy has been flagged by Subhash sir also, that we should have a clear-cut policy for using wood, that you grow more wood and use more wood. So that should be the motto, because it sequesters carbon for another 40-50 years after the tree is cut. So that policy we should have. Then the next thing is that we should have a clear-cut policy regarding the this carbon sequestration. We understand that the carbon sequestration is highest when the trees are young. So we should maintain the whole forest in its youth. For that purpose, we'll have to undertake the silvicultural operations and cultural operations. We'll have to cut the trees and thin the trees. And there is a lot of limitation for cutting the trees for silvicultural purposes. So unless and until we undertake these operations, forest stands will not be maintained in youth and the rate of carbon sequestration will reduce. If you want to have good carbon sequestration rate, then we will have to undertake these operations periodically. And the next thing is that we should have a clear-cut policy for preparing the projects for this carbon finance. For example, we have to participate in voluntary carbon market nowadays. So there should be clear-cut guidelines as to how to prepare these projects, and there should be ease of doing business, and the procedure should not be very complex. And the persons who are sitting in the government, especially the finance department and the forest department, environment department, they need to train to understand this trade altogether. So unless they understand, they will not clear it. So there has to be a clear-cut policy for designing these projects in our country. Then the next thing is that we should invite private sector for participating in land restoration activity. Actually, Government of India has started in a small way by promulgating the green credit policy, wherein the public sector undertaking, they are investing in the forest areas for raising the plantations. But what I feel is that the private sector should invest in a big way, and there we need a policy shift at the government level so that we can ensure the investment from the private sector, and the whole sector shall be managed on a professional way. So these are the few highlights which I feel that there should be policy and institutional changes that need to be effected. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I still remember Maharashtra was the first state to come for a carbon tender.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know where it is, but I think definitely it was your idea.
Yeah, it is still in the pipeline. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Archana, you being the only person seeing this entire government from outside. So what are your views on policy or governance level changes so that best efforts could be implemented?
So I think many of the points have been made, and especially with respect to looking at now the forest from a landscape perspective. The landscape restoration approach is very, very much important. So in terms of policy, I don't fully understand, but I think the Forest Rights Act, through that, can communities be empowered with reference to the carbon aspects? I don't know how it can be done, but there have been some talks about amending the act.
Screen is frozen.
On this carbon trading, which Tembhurnikar sir also mentioned about the officials and other senior players, but I think at the ground level also, the people-based committees, the community-based committees also need to be trained in these aspects to really take out the full value for their livelihoods or economic benefits, and thus contribute to forest landscape restoration. And sir, one point, what I have learned is that in the state of Maharashtra, the bamboo plantation is also getting a lot of fillip and lot of motivation for farmers to come forward and do this. And then it has been included as part of the Manrega. Maybe Tembhurnikar can comment on that. But this could also be a good way to promote tree outside forest and agroforestry, of including it in Manrega, and therefore community gets benefit out of it. I'll stop here, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Archana. Thank you. Now we reached the last round of our questions, where in fact I skipped one round because that round was to get your ideas on carbon markets in India. And everybody was so eager that before going to the last round, everybody came up with a carbon markets idea. So we all are a generation of foresters who started with JFPM from 91 to 93, 94, 95. We all went to various Arabari, various places in the country, trying to learn JFPM, and we lived an entire generation of 30 years with JFPM, EDCs, and various committees. Now, carbon or biodiversity credit, whatever credits are being, are coming, they are the new mechanisms of benefit sharing, non-destructive benefit sharing with the community. And the community and the understanding that the community lies at the central, as the central theme of any conservation initiative. And let me also update here, the Government of India has recently issued clear guidelines for Indian CCTS market, Indian regulatory carbon market, where the regulations for forestry sector and agriculture sectors are already released. So now any carbon development in India, because it is easier to go to Government of Finance Department to go and tell them that we are not registering in US, we are registering in Indian market. So that there our life becomes a little easier. So those guidelines are there. The market is being set up. Recently, the allocation for carbon targets, carbon reduction targets for Indian industry majors, they have also been issued. So now there is a target for reduction. There is a market. Now the need for projects comes in. So definitely what we see in next 2-3 years, Indian carbon market is also going to increase. And definitely here I would also like to mention that very recently in our transactions in Meghalaya state of India, Iora could sell our farmers carbon at about 40 euros per ton. So 40 euros per ton is not the benchmark, but definitely a fillip in the carbon efforts of carbon industry in India. So with this, I would request Dr. Subhash to just in one line sum up your entire idea of linking initiatives, forestry initiatives with community and equal distribution of the benefits to the community.
In fact, this is a very important question. And in fact, when we started as Red Plus, then the premise was that the carbon benefits are one of the additional benefits, at the icing on the cake. Now we are moving towards more structured carbon markets. So I think there should be two categories. One is where the industries have to support forestation or tree plantation for compensating their for earning carbon credit for their emissions. Or so this can be one area where a lot of financing from the Indian industries, Indian corporates can come to the afforestation works in the villages, especially on the community land. Even we can connect with the forest rights holder where they have got community rights. This can be a very good financing mechanism for management of community forest resources by the communities in the tribal areas. Another can be where this wood is harvested and utilized for is stored in various usable form. So there it can be a different sort of mechanism because there will be some loss in the processing. So now since the policies have evolved, they are as you have told that these notifications have come. Now it's time to start working on them so that if there are any limitations that can be overcome, because it is not a fix, you can say, mechanism. We have to evolve with learning from the various experiments going on throughout the country. I would just here so that we have to have a lot of capacity building of communities, of MRVs, of the scientific assessment of carbon. At the same time, going for good quality planting material, because that is the one area which has not taken up. So good nurseries have to be supported with the lot of good infrastructure so that they come up with the certified saplings, which the farmers or whosoever plants trees, they are assured of getting what they have been assured in for future, you can say, future aid. So this is one area where we have to invest a lot of time and energy so that it becomes, it is facilitative
Yeah.
at the earliest. Thank you.
Your last sentence, last idea.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, the community participation is very important for sustenance of this forest resource. And what matters is that we invest in various activities over the landscape, and this investment should yield results after a number of years. And in case of forestry, the period required, that is, it is a long gestation period project, and we have got a projectized approach. So instead of that, what I feel is that the community should be involved in our projects in such a way that their livelihood issues or their economic issues are addressed to, so that they they remain glued to the project. So that is what I feel. Then second limitation which I want to say is that there is a multiplicity of village level institutions at the grassroots level. In every village, you will find that there is a JFMC, Biodiversity Management Committee, then PESA Committee, CFRMC
Good
Committee,
committee.
FRA Committee. So many committees are there in one village, and the same persons, they become member or president of various committees. So what I feel is that there has to be a policy level decision that we should integrate all these committees together, and there should be only one committee. We can call it as a natural resource management committee at the village level, so that the coordination problems shall reduce, and we can yield some result regarding this community participation. Then the next thing is that with the advent of FRA, these a lot of settlements have happened inside the forest, and these settlements need to be consolidated and surveyed, and their involvement in forest protection should be invoked as per the provisions of Section 5 of FRA. So the people need to be sensitized to that extent for conserving the forest resource. So ultimately, what I feel is that the community participation is very, very important for sustenance of whatever assets are created, which we create by investing in the landscape, in all the landscapes. So for sustenance purposes, we should undertake massive capacity building program, sensitization program, as well as their economic interest should also be addressed to. And there needs to be clear-cut policy at the national and the state level. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dr. Vivek, your last sentence.
As we have all agreed, and that participation of each and every stakeholder, maybe whatever the active actors, state actors, non-state actors, that is really a key. So in whatever way we think of when we talk of the natural resource management, that involved or maybe landscape level management, or maybe the marketing of the farm grown wood, or even NTFP's overall scenario related to when we take into consideration the human wildlife conflict also, that is also increasing. So all these aspects, when we think in totality, so whatever way for the recognition of these efforts in terms of the NRMC committee or the Joint Forest Management or Landscape Level Management Committee or Watershed Committee. So whatever way, because you see different states, some states to give the recognition, they have the concept of one Mitra by different names, so that they also consider part of the responsible behavior for the contribution towards the overall natural resource management and conservation. So here also some sort of whatever other initiatives are there as from the government side and the civil society and all other stakeholders, they have to have a integrated responsible behavior through a common fabric, like through which they can play their respective effective role, and proper and effective planning and ensuring sustainability of whatever thought process we are thinking and deliberating today. And while executing that at the ground level, and continuity and sustainability of that to get the desired outcomes for overall sustainability of the environment, overall ensuring sustainable livelihoods, that is the key for that.
Thank you, Vivek ji. Archana ji, your one takeaway.
Yes, so I think most of the points have been made. I would like to make a point about the equity and the benefit sharing. I think the community participation has been highlighted by everyone. So how do we really ensure it? We can ensure the participation through equitable benefit sharing with the communities. And this needs to be done in the most transparent manner. So I think the digital tools that have been used in schemes such as PM Kisan and the direct benefit transfer scheme. Similarly, for any carbon project, like you mentioned, sir, the CCTS is already kicked in. So more and more such projects are going to be registered, where communities, a lot of things would be expected from the communities. So capacity building, and then equitable benefit sharing through digital means, which can be tracked transparently, and the communities can benefit out of all this process. Is the forest landscape restoration process is very much important, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. With this, we come to the end of this panel discussion. So Premvada, it's your stage now.
Thank you, sir. I think all our panel members have very aptly summarized all of the discussions in the last round of one-liner takeaways. So I'm not going to summarize further, but I will just like to mention that the major points that came up in the discussion today, one was the involvement of the community participation, the stakeholder integration, participation of the various departments in an orchestrated manner for any success story to come up, and most importantly the tree-based economy as suggested by Saxena sir, and very importantly the grassland policy, which can help in not just the wildlife conservation but also integrate it with the forest landscapes as an alternative to agriculture. Sir, this was almost like reiterating one of our all of the previous dialogues that we've had on grasslands, multi-stakeholders and community participation. So today's dialogue was almost like vetting of all the previous discussions. On behalf of Iora, I thank all of the panelists here. Thank you, sirs, and Ms. Archana, for your presence and for the opinion that you've shared. And I also thank some of the members who have joined us from Shakti, and all of the LinkedIn members who have joined us online through our page. Thank you, sirs. We'll be in touch after this speak. Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
Very, very thought-provoking, insightful discussion, making this as a grand success discussion for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.